broadcast of 2021, which signals 26 weeks in a row that I've been here doing live streams, and so excited to, looking back, just watch some of the original videos and seeing how far I've come as far as my ability to deliver content and ways to share information with you guys. And so looking forward in the new year to continue to grow, continuing to develop, and really, really looking forward to bringing more content to you guys in the new year. So thank you for those of you who have been following along. 26 weeks has flown by. As well, this is an exciting presentation because we're wrapping up part 2 of the holiday survival guide. So last week we talked about expectations, right? All the expectations that come with the holiday season and how easy it is to get burnt out, to feel overwhelmed, and feel stressed. So we talked about different time management strategies to make sure that we're on top of things and understanding what's important to us now. We mentioned last week what we were going to talk about in this conversation, which is just the idea of self-limiting beliefs, right? Coming up to the new year on Friday night, going into Saturday. And when we have this opportunity to set new beliefs for ourselves, we have New Year's resolutions, right? This is what we do. We look forward to the new year. We're amazing as human beings. We paint this picture of what our future is going to look like, right? We have these expectations for ourselves, and oftentimes we're the hero of our own journey, right? We have this picture in our mind. We have the superhero outfit, and all of everybody around us is clapping and cheering about all the success that we achieved. And what we didn't think about is all the barriers, all the obstacles, all the roadblocks that are going to get in the way. And so the first sign of challenge or adversity, we stop. And honestly, oftentimes this comes down to really, really simply not wanting to sit and feel some of the negative emotions that go with this. Some of the fear, some of the anger, some of the frustration, and the self-limiting beliefs that come from those. Instead of facing those and understanding and appreciating what they are, we just kind of rationalize and say, I don't have enough time, or I didn't have the right equipment, or this just wasn't, this wasn't important for me. And we rationalize it, logical it away, and then we move on, right? And we kind of keep ourselves small. We're defensive, we're risk adverse, we're a little cynical about what we're able to achieve instead of being resourceful and malleable and persistent and open-minded. And so I really want to address that today, because hopefully if you're watching this, there's been a point when you've made a New Year's resolution and it hasn't worked. So let's turn the script on that this year, and let's dive into why that hasn't happened. So I'm going to share my screen here really quickly. We have this idea, and I get this from James Clear, and it's got these 3 circles of behavior change, because that's basically what we're talking about, right? If we have this outcome we want to achieve, then there's going to be some behavior change that needs to occur. If we want to achieve it and we haven't yet, then there's something we're not doing now currently that we need to start doing in order to get there, right? And this is so powerful. I actually read a book the other day about how movie writers write their scripts, right? Because I talked at the beginning about the idea of that outcome-based superhero that kind of achieves everything they set their goals to. What we fail to think about is that low part, right in the middle, towards the end of the film, when everything seems to be going against the hero, and they have to find a reason inside themselves to keep going, right? Because at that point, all the odds are stacked against them. It's almost impossible to think that they're going to find a way to come ahead and actually win the day. And then they do. And the reason why is because they believe that it's possible. They find some reason within themselves to believe that they have the ability to go forward and achieve their goal, achieve their mission. And so in addition to the outcome that we get at the end of the movie, right, they save the world, or they get the rescue the damsel in distress, or whatever it may be, they also, the other transformation, this is the real secret of movie making and story writing, is there's a transformation inside themselves as well, right? A lot of times in superheroes, they're origin stories. So they start out and they just discover they have all these abilities and they don't really know how to use them yet. They're a little awkward, a little clumsy, and then by the end, they're confident in their skills and their abilities, right? And this is kind of what I'm trying to get at for you. This is what I want for you guys. So if we look at the outermost circle, we have outcomes, right? This is the thing we're imagining in our mind that we're so good at doing, the outcome that we want. And generally, that's about as far as we get with our New Year's resolutions. So if we say, maybe I want to lose 5 pounds, or I want to run a 5K, or I want to pay off my credit card debt. There's this outcome, and we don't imagine any of the process, any of the in-between, the habits that need to occur to get us there, or any of the roadblocks, the obstacles that get in the way. And so if we stick with the running the 5K example for a second, we might say, that maybe we need to get up and run 3 times a week. And that's our habit. That's the process we follow to get to the outcome. And if we're really, really on the ball, we might have an opportunity, a workaround for what happens when it doesn't work so well, when we get ourselves into a bit of a roadblock or we get stuck, how do we come back to it, right? Now, a lot of times you're going to think about really practical outcomes like, it's raining out and I don't have a raincoat, so I can't run in the rain, or, I ripped a shoelace on my running shoe, so I can't go for a run. Or there's a really important project due at work, right? And I can't go out and run for that reason. And so if you get to that point where you're coming up with really practical, logical explanations for why you can't achieve the goal or the workaround, and your decision is just, this isn't actually going to work for me, I'm just going to give up. The reason why is because you haven't dug down to this third bottom layer, and that's the identity layer, the belief, what you choose to believe about yourself. And this is so, so important because these are the internal barriers that get in the way of you being successful, right? And so what do I mean by that? There's really three kinds of limiting beliefs that you're going to come across in your life. And oftentimes when we logic or rationalize why we can't do something, we're trying to ignore the fact that these beliefs exist, right? A lot of times when there's deep, powerful emotions we need to fear. And like I said, in a lot of cases, when it comes to achieving goals and achieving outcomes, is fear and anger, right? Like maybe we're angry at the way the world is. It's getting in the way of us achieving something. We're afraid of sharing what's inside, what we want to accomplish with the world. And so instead of doing that, we just we logic our way out. We come up with an explanation for why it's not possible. And so then that's our way of getting out of it. Instead of sitting with those emotions and trying to feel and understand the self-limiting beliefs that are holding us back, we just come up with a logical explanation for why it won't work. But so there's three limiting beliefs, right? Let's circle back on those. The three limiting beliefs, so some of them about the world. So you might say, now's not a good time for running. It's the middle of January in Canada. It's snowing everywhere. The ground is going to be wet. The sidewalks are not clear. I can't run now. Now is not a good time. That would be a limiting belief about the world. What about other people? I can't run right now. What would other people think of me to see me running outside on the street right now in the middle of winter? Like only crazy people run in the winter. So other people would judge me and I'd have to deal with their judgment if I started running now in the middle of the winter time. That'd be a belief about others. Or, maybe you want to have a running buddy to run with you, but you don't ask them because you think, they'll think it's crazy to run. So I can't run because they don't want to do it. But then finally, there's the beliefs about ourselves. And I think these ones are probably the most important, in some way are influenced by all the other ones as well. And so you think to yourself, I'm a quitter. I never finish what I start. Or I can't help it. I've never been physically fit. Or, I can't dig myself out of this hole. I'm so unfit. It's been so long since I've been active. There's no way I can get back to being in a state where I can run a 5K. Have all these beliefs about yourselves, right? And chances are they're there for a good reason. You believed about something's happened in the past that made you believe that that's possible. But so what I want to challenge you guys today, instead of coming up with New Year's resolutions, instead of having more things to add onto your plate to get yourself busier and busier and make you feel more stressed and more overwhelmed, what I want to challenge you guys with today is maybe sitting down. If you're going to take that time to plan for the future, to imagine what 2022 is going to look like, maybe sit down and write down your limiting beliefs. All these things, I always quit, or I'm not very active, or I'm not very fit, or I'll never be able to bounce back if I fail. All these different beliefs, and ask yourself, is it useful? Is it valuable? Is it serving you in achieving what you want to achieve? When you have that highlight reel movie playing in your head about your future a year from now, is this thought that you have in your head, is it a liberating truth? It is something that's encouraging you, that's useful, that's helping you towards your path of being successful? Is it giving you traction, or is it a distraction? Is it a limiting belief? Is it getting in the way of you accomplishing that goal? Sit down and think about it for a second and decide which of the two that it is, because the truth of the story is that it's exactly that. It's always a story, right? So there's always a flip side to every story. So if you say, for example, that I'm not a very good runner, or that I'm not fit enough to do this, the flip side of that, obviously, there's somebody that's way less fit than you that's probably thinking that, man, I would just love to be where you are right now, because if I was that fit, it'd be so much easier to get to the point where I do a 5K, right? And so you can think, or you can take an example from another part of your life where you've accomplished something really challenging and say, I am a really hard worker, or I commit myself, I show up consistently and get things done. And so for every limiting belief, there's also the opposite is possible as well, right? There's an opportunity for a liberating truth. And so you can flip the script, and oftentimes the opposite is equally as true as the limiting your belief you're telling yourself. And so a lot of times, though, they come from fear, they come from anger and frustration and uncertainty, right? Because in order to accomplish these things that we imagine for ourselves, we have to put it out there in the world, right? So if we're talking about again, I want to run this 5K, then you've got to make time in your week to run. So when people are asking, why aren't you doing this, or why aren't you watching that show, or why aren't you coming out to the kids' practices anymore? I'm making time to run. Why are you doing that for? Because I want to run a 5K, or I want to lose this weight. You have to be comfortable putting it out there. And then ultimately, you have to be comfortable with the idea that you might fail, right? Or that you're going to hit setbacks, because life isn't perfect. And there's always boundaries, obstacles, and roadblocks. And so if you're not aware of the self-limiting beliefs that you hold about yourself, then when those roadblocks come, then you just rationalize like, oh, this wasn't a good time. It was winter, or I didn't have the right shoes, or my kids had a lot going on in their life, and so I had to be there to support them. This wasn't a good time for me. And you just brush it under the table, right? And all of a sudden you make an excuse or a distraction instead of getting in tune with the emotion and understand that I was afraid to fail. I was afraid to say that this was really important to me, and that I had a setback, or I had an adverse event, or, it didn't go exactly as I planned. But again, the idea here is if you brush it off, if you brush it away and say, this wasn't important to me, I guarantee it's not going to happen. A year from now, you're still going to be here thinking about that idea of, I want to be able to run a 5K, or I want to lose 5 pounds, because you gave up on it, right? You've let that self-limiting belief keep you defensive, keep you risk adverse, keep you cynical, and it kept you playing small. And so it wasn't useful, it wasn't productive. But if you flip that around and you have a liberating truth that says, I'm an active person, or I'm a good runner, or I'm resourceful, and I find a way to get things done, or I have a support network around me that encourages me to be successful, however you decide to flip that limiting belief around and make it a liberating truth, all of a sudden that serves you, gives you an opportunity to find a way. And I bet you if you believe that to be true, then every time there's a setback, you see it as an opportunity for growth. You see it as an opportunity to learn, to get a little bit better. And if we come back here a year from now, that belief is probably going to give you so much better opportunity. So if we come all the way back full circle to this picture, you have a liberating truth, a belief about yourself that is positive and encourages positive change and growth and learning and development. All of a sudden, it gives you the opportunity to be consistent with your process, to show up week after week after week, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not exactly the way that you imagined, even if it's not the photo highlight reel in your head. You showed up and you did your best. And I bet you, even if you don't achieve the goal you set for yourself, you've moved way closer towards the outcome you're looking for than you ever could have possibly imagined. And so it starts not with you do have to begin with the end in mind. You have to imagine that outcome that you want from yourself. But for there, you have to take the time to sit back and reflect on what's holding me back, because chances are it's right in here. It's the self-limiting beliefs that you choose to believe about yourself, whether they're from the world, whether they're from others, or whether you've just taken them all in and accepted them for yourself. If you have a story that holds you back from being successful, then it's true. And so all I wanted to share with you guys today, really simply, is that you can flip that belief around, turn it into a liberating truth instead of a self-limiting belief. And if you take the time to sit and do that and reflect on all the things that can get in the way, all the stories you'll tell yourself for why you can't be successful, and you come up with those liberating truths, I bet you a year from now, you'll be so much more successful than just sitting down and writing out that goal or that New Year's resolution, or even taking it one step further, doing the SMART goal. I bet you we've all done that at some point, right? But ultimately, we always fail to take the time to sit down and think about these fears, these emotions that sit inside ourselves that hold us back from being successful. So that's my challenge for you guys for this year. Take the time to think about these limiting beliefs, understand the emotions, the fear, the uncertainty, the scarcity that comes with these thoughts and feelings. Come up with the liberating truths that'll give you the confidence to push through, to overcome that challenge. And just like the hero in the superhero movie, once you believe in yourself, I guarantee you'll find a way to come out with an outcome, because every problem, every challenge, every roadblock is actually an opportunity to learn, to grow, to be successful. You just have to choose to see it that way. So I've definitely ran over time today, but I was really passionate, really excited with this talk. So have a happy Wednesday, everybody. Have a wonderful New Year. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season thus far. And we'll see you back here next week. Same time, same place, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Instagram Live for our Wired for Wellness, for our new video series, the first of 2020.